Hey, everybody, welcome. Here we go. Episode 3 of Hanging Left. I am Matt Connerton, and with me is Todd Air. Todd, how's it hanging?
It is hanging left as usual, very left now. It's got to, we really got to shove it over to that side and make sure it stays there.
I'm always reminded of this Beastie Boys song, Time to Build. Do you know the song? It was never a single, but it's from the album To the Five Boroughs, or actually, I think it's an EP. But yeah, there's a line in the song, and of course, this
I
was.
mean, how can you be raised in New England and not know the Beastie Boys? I mean,
Oh,
come
of
on.
course, yeah, and this was this was during the 2004 election when it came out, and there's a line in it. We needed a little shift on over to the left because, of course, they were very opposed to the George W. Bush administration and were supporting John Kerry and all of that. So
Shocking.
yeah, yeah. But now, it's interesting though.
I take Bush now.
I know. Yeah, it's interesting for a couple of reasons. One is, who would have ever thought we would pine for the days of the George W. Bush administration, or at least that version of the Republican Party? And also, the other thing that's changed is it used to be that musicians generally would be, with the exception, obviously, of Ted Nugent or a large part of most country artists. But most rock musicians and hip hop musicians and whatnot were generally, you could count on to be liberals. But now there's a lot of musicians, especially in metal, who seem to be MAGA, or at least sort of tacitly MAGA. It's changed.
Angry men, my friend, angry men, and they're probably also upset that they can't have that big hair anymore. Because they're losing it, they're aging.
Sure.
So, that receding hairline is really causing a lot of frustration amongst those cisgender headbangers.
Yeah. I suppose that may very well be the case. That might be what it is.
Yeah. I don't know.
But here we are, episode 3. We did not do a show last week. We had internet problems here last week. And also I had to get another computer. So I have another computer that has a much faster processor. Did a podcast yesterday with my friend Eric Pilcher. No problems at all. Nothing freezing up. Everything was smooth. So I think now I'm much more confident with what we're working with now, that we can really, start bringing on guests and do all kinds of stuff. And the sky's the limit but I thought it was an internet connection problem before, but then I realized it was a computer that I was using. Even though it was a newer computer, it just didn't have fast enough processing speed to do what we're doing. So
interesting.
So problem solved, and so far so good. So
that's why you're the tech guru, Matt.
Yeah, somewhat. I'm not a tech expert, but I know probably more than most people.
Proficient.
Proficient's a good word. Yes. But so as we're doing this, of course, it is. And I forgot to mute my phone.
That's okay.
So I'm better with the technology, but not remembering to mute my phone.
Oh, that's not good. I just blocked my camera. I don't know how I did that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry about that.
That's okay. So today is June 15th, Sunday, June 15th. It is Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to all the dads out there watching.
Right. Happy Father's Day.
And so also another big weekend. Wow, there was a lot, actually.
There was a lot. I mean, I don't know if we can cover it all, to be quite honest. I mean, from missiles lobbing from Israel into Iran to, attacks in Minnesota on political leaders, to, Pete Hegseth and our friend there, Mr. Dumpster Fire, playing soldiers. They never grew up, you see, so they had to have a little march, and they're right in front of the White House, play with their soldiers.
Makes them feel like big, strong men.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
You know what they say about a man and the size of his missiles? No, anyway.
It's not the size of the missile, it's how you launch it.
Right, true. And how much it explodes. But
that's right.
Okay, exactly. we can beat that one to death, I think. Anyway. So yeah, I think that but I think a good way to kind of bring it all in, if you will, and cover everything and all the topics at the same time. Sorry, I'm looking off the side here at my list. Is I think we can really talk in general, about the icing on the cake there, which is the No Kings rally. Or if it coincided with a pride, we like to call it No Kings, Yes Queens. So so I think that because that pretty much says it all. 9 to 11 million people out and about, screaming and yelling and banging horns. I mean, banging drums and blowing horns, and just people have had enough.
There was a lot of this on Saturday, of course, nationwide, but I also saw on Friday night here in Manchester, as I was going to WMNH 95.3, because I'm on the air Friday nights on Retro Spectrum Radio, and there was a small gathering of people, small compared to these massive rallies that we saw on Saturday, but here in Manchester, there were some people there on my way. If I had had time, I would have loved to have gone and talk with them and maybe even record some interviews, but I had to be on the air, so there wasn't time to do it. But they had a lot of different banners, and some of them pretty big, and saying things like "No Kings," and somebody had a very large banner that said "Immigrants make NH stronger." And I would argue, of course, immigrants make America stronger in ways that I don't think a lot of Americans realize.
You know what, Matt? I'm gonna let you in a little secret. That might have been me. I actually was at that rally.
Oh, you were there?
I was, and I was one of the people carrying one of the big banners.
Oh, I'll be damned. Oh, cool.
And I'll tell you, Matt, I feel like maybe I bought in a little bit to the hysteria there, because I was ready. It being an ice out rally is what I was told.
Yeah.
So I was semi-prepared to be confronted by the stormtrooper ice troopers for some reason. I don't know. That was probably just in my head. So I had like full black tech wear and an N95 mask, and and ended up not needing any of it, and full shield glasses and the whole nine, but I figure safe than sorry. But
well, now that I know that you were there, I'm curious. So did you encounter any like what was it like being there?
It was I guess we like to always be blunt on this show, so I guess on the positive, it was great that everybody stood out. It was kind of neat. I talked to a few people. They were actually first-time protesters. Okay. I didn't think that existed anymore. No, I'm joking. But she's like, it's the first time I've ever gone to a rally, this young woman I was speaking with. And I'm like, really? And she's like, how about you? I'm like, yeah, it's my first millionth or something.
Yeah.
I can't, it's like I lost count, my rally body count is beyond.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, so I was there to support my friends at 5051, and I thought that also minor exposure to HRC, but it really was primarily, which for those of you that don't know, it's the Human Rights Campaign. So we're the strongest LGBTQ lobby, or I should say the largest LGBTQ lobby in the United States, if not possibly the world. I mean, I haven't seen the stats, but we're huge.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I went there. Also one of the guys that I went with, he happens to be this guy, Andrew. We call him Andrew, the camera guy. He rides tandem 5051, and I recently recruited him to do work for me directly, on my team on the Human Rights Campaign. So,
okay.
So he was out there shooting away. So that was great. I think that I liked it. I have to say, I do prefer the Concord rallies, the 5051 rallies.
Yeah.
For my taste, it was a little too benign.
Okay.
I like a little bit more muscular language, as we know. And a little bit more aggressive. I mean, I felt like the chants were a little too like passive for my taste, but I get it. Also, I guess an insider told me that I was a little confused with it was a 3-mile march.
Yeah.
And I was a little confused with the path we were taking, because again, I am ready to I thought we were going to the ICE detention center in Manchester.
Yeah.
And instead we just kind of toured these parks. So and I guess what one of the people told me was that their vision was that people would come down from the ramparts out of their homes and out of their apartments and join the march. I didn't see it happen, but A for effort. So I never like to discourage progress. I never like to discourage anything like that. But I do think, it's a little bit of a critique. I think that maybe getting a little bit more cohesive with the chants, in my opinion, getting a little more aggressive with the chants, all of that sort of thing. And then it was kind of funny because I don't know their technical name, but the New Hampshire Socialist Alliance or something like that, they came out and they were all, I mean, they were all dolled up to look like, to hide their identities and all of this sort of thing. And I'm just like, actually at one point turned to one of them and I'm like, you know what? If you're not going to get arrested for anything happening here today, my friends.
Right.
This is so peaceful.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Hey, by the way, excuse me, Todd, on Facebook, because that's one of the places we're streaming live for those of you who happen to be watching this live. Miriam Banish says maybe the rock and rollers who miss their hair can get transplants or wigs, identity affirming care. But she also says, we're talking about the protests. I saw a sign like that in Milford. The sign we were talking about that said, immigrants make New Hampshire strong.
Absolutely. And they do. They really do. Yeah. I mean, they make, like you said, they make America strong. As a matter of fact, I'm maybe a little unknown secret. Guess what? We were all immigrants at one point.
Well,
that's how that works.
Here's the thing that I like to say about this, and you won't hear this talked about much, at least not by politicians, because one of the things, Todd, I like to complain about how Democrats, I think, have far superior ideas to Republicans, which is why I hang left. But unfortunately, Democrats are, for the most part, horrendous at communicating. So one of the things that Democrats need to learn to be able to communicate about immigrants and about immigration is the economic value of immigrants and why we need immigrants, because this is something nobody says. And again, I understand for 4 years we had a president who couldn't, toward the end, articulate much of anything, but we need Democrats to be able to go on television and go on radio shows and podcasts and explain to people, again, just like with go ahead, Todd. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, in general, right now, I find Democrats, except there's exceptions, but I find them a little bit disappointing.
Oh, yeah. But
I actually need to have, I think at this point, I'm going to hold back and not necessarily out this individual, but there are some people in high up in that are supposed to be representing New Hampshire that signed something that I'm not very happy with them signing.
Yeah.
One of those individuals happens to be a pretty good friend of mine. And I think I'm going to send her some sort of correspondence or communication expressing my frustration with, what she decided to do, and let her know that that's not really why I directly worked to fight to get her elected.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also, a little bit of a cautionary tale that, like, honestly, I'll tell you, interesting story. As we know, I'm very hanging left, and I'm very much progressive, pinko, commie. No, I'm not a communist, but anyway, but like that's what they blame us for being. But anyway, regardless, I'm proudly a progressive. But what's interesting is, so my sister, who is, I would say, more left center, even she said she would reconsider voting for this individual next time. I mean, she very much supported her this time around. And so I think that maybe in a kind way, because I'm not for beating her up, and I still, in some ways it is almost like a little bit of a personal punch in a slap. Well, we won't go quite punch in the gut, but certainly slap across the face, because we put this person in hoping they weren't going to kind of follow the marching orders, and kind of shake things up a little bit. And I'm not seeing that happen.
Yeah. Well, of course. But here's the thing. So if Democrats, kind of going back to what I was going to say about Democrats not being able to communicate basic concepts, here's a very basic concept. We need immigrants to contribute to our economy because there are not enough workers. Now, I've heard Democrats kind of explain that a little bit, but they need to go further and explain to Americans that if you don't have enough workers in the country, because we're an aging population, and so eventually,
And P.S. they're taking care of you. P.S.
Right,
it's a lot of immigrants taking care of this aging population.
That's one of the things they do. Yeah.
Because there's so many of these, like, quote unquote, real Americans standing up and doing these jobs, right? They're in line to do it, right? Not like, it's like these people are doing the work we gladly don't, no one wants to do. Really?
But we need to be right. So we need to be able to explain, like, if you could wave some sort of xenophobic magic wand and all of a sudden every person who was in the country illegally wasn't here anymore, our economy would collapse immediately.
Absolutely.
So they are absolutely essential to the economy. And we also need to, this is something no one ever says, and I have no idea why. When I hear people complain, well, these people, they come into the country illegally and they're just freeloaders and they don't contribute to the tax base. This I hear all the time. They come into the country and they don't contribute to the tax base, which is bullshit. First of all,
completely wrong, completely ignorant.
They come in like these farmers, if they have to, they'll make up a social security number. They'll do whatever they have to do, right? To get these people, because they need the employees, but also, even if you somehow are not paying income tax, which I think most of them are, but even if you're not, you are still contributing to the American economy and you are still contributing to the tax base. We're taxed up the wazoo in this country. We had all kinds of taxes. We don't have it here in New Hampshire, but most states have a sales tax, for example. So you can't even buy anything without contributing to the sales tax. That's just one example. So it is physically impossible to be in the United States and exist without in some way contributing to the tax base and of course contributing to the economy. You got to spend money. There's no getting around it. I never hear anybody pointing that out. I never hear anybody explaining to these people that when they say, oh, they come here and they don't pay any taxes, that is physically impossible. Your own racism and xenophobia blinds you to this, but you are describing something that is physically impossible. You cannot be in the United States and not pay taxes. Nobody calls them on that. Why not? And again, we know the reason, because Democrats can't communicate anything. But I know I'm being harsh, but I get very frustrated by this because that's such a simple thing. Just point it out. Hey, what you're saying isn't right, and here's why it's not right. Granted, they're not going to listen, most of them, but you might get through to a few people if you just explain it. It's there's nothing complex about it. It's pretty simple, right? Uh-oh. I may have ranted Todd off the stream. He just disappeared. For once, I'm actually I'm filibustering more than Todd here. Let's see. Well, while we wait for Todd to return, I'm sure he just had a problem with his phone. Oh, here we go. Add to the
completely
stream.
Went black there for a second.
You're back. You're back.
My screen. Well, I have it on widescreen though. I want to point out something.
Yes. Yes.
Might as well just give a shout out here. So Human Rights Campaign is doing. I'm actually going to be running the Pride Festival, the Pride this coming Saturday in Providence, Rhode Island. And I just wanted to show everyone the new Pride shirt. There it is.
Very cool.
So it's right there. I've already got mine, but yeah, you can get that at the Pride Parade for a discounted price. I think like online it's something like a $30 contribution, and we're doing like half price, something like $15, $20, something like that in person. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to like a more closed in here camera. Nope, not the back camera. You don't need that. Oh, whoa. All right. There we go.
While you're doing that, Todd, by the way, so we have a couple people watching us live, streaming live.
Nice.
Brian Mackey is with us. He says Democrats also act on those good ideas. Extreme LOL. Right. That to your point with the person you're disappointed with. Melanie La Liberty from the great state of Vermont says they also contribute hundreds of millions to Medicaid and Social Security. Absolutely, Melanie. Great point. Melanie also says ICE would not be raiding businesses if they were not working and contributing. Another fantastic point. Absolutely. And Brian Mackey says, didn't Trump just say it? He rolled back on deportations on hotels and farmers. Yes, because he's being forced to acknowledge that there is a flaw in the xenophobic thinking of the right.
Trump keeps on getting caught with his pants down, and KK Caroline Levitt, she's not doing the best job, managing his public relations. So, not shocking. And also, I'm starting to think that like Trump's policies are almost like New England weather. Wait a minute, and it will change.
Well, that's why we have Taco. Trump always chickens out, right?
Right, exactly.
But because and that's the thing too, with speaking about the farmers, of course, if you say to these farmers, well, we're going to round up everyone who works for you and send them home, then that obviously not only are you're hurting farmers, putting them out of business, but you're also raising the price of food, contributing.
There go the eggs. There go the eggs.
Exactly. And none of this is complicated, but we need to be able to explain it to people and communicate it to people. And I know there's this sort of white ethno-state fantasy that if you get rid of all the brown people, hardworking white Americans are going to go and do those jobs. Which is insane. That's not
but then happen. those same people have the option right now. I mean, they've gotten rid of enough immigrants. Why don't I see them lining up? I mean,
I have a patriotic thing to do.
Right. I mean, I have a friend that he's got a very successful contracting business. I'll have to ask him how many young, white, educated, or almost, or at least, high school educated young men lined up to help him out, to drywall and do all of that grunt work. I'm sure it's in mass. I mean, I'm sure he can't.
Yeah, by the way, Melanie said regarding Trump with his pants down, no one wants to visualize him with his pants down.
Well, except his gut's so big that there really would be nothing to see anyway. So there you go, Melanie. Don't worry about that.
That's true. And looks like Brian's not feeling that idea too much either.
No, well, I'm a gay man, trust me, so I'm not feeling it either,
Right, right. Yeah. So.
I don't think Melania feels it. I think there's a reason why she always has that face of gruesomeness, like that.
Yeah.
She's always, she always looks like, I don't know.
We need to fix our immigration system. The immigration system needs and there are some Republicans who, by the way, will agree with that, that we need to do a complete overhaul of the immigration system. I think we should overhaul the immigration system and then figure out how to bring people, out of the shadows and get them legal. And
why would we not make it easier for these people to contribute to our society? Like, again, it's like, I just don't understand it. I mean, I'll be fully honest. I'm not taking their jobs. I don't want to do the same jobs they're doing. Like, and to be quite frank, we could all learn a little bit of a work ethic from them, because everyone that comes here, any of the new immigrants I've ever met, they're always extremely hardworking, extremely polite. They go out of their way. And I'm going to ask you as well as the rest of the audience. I think I might have said this to you before, Matt, but I think it's important nowadays, especially when you see someone. I'm not saying call people out and say, oh, you're an immigrant. But if you have a pretty good idea that they are, make sure you say something kind, show them a smile, tell them they're doing a good job, do those things, because right now they're afraid, and they need to understand that the majority of us are not okay with them being afraid.
Right.
And that we're doing everything we can to stand up for them, and that we're going to keep on standing up for them until these people are gone.
By the way, Miriam in the Facebook chat says she can't see the other chatters. Miriam, that's because you're on Facebook. If you stream the show on YouTube, you can find us on YouTube as well. You'll be able to see everyone's comments. The service that we use, Restream, it seems to separate Facebook and YouTube when it comes to the chatting. Don't know why. But yeah,
so Matt, I have to keep my Facebook logged in for some reason. I don't know. So clearly, I don't know. Maybe Zuckerberg is hoping there'll be a way once we start to, climb in the ranks, that he'll be a way to suck money out of us. I don't know.
No, but I like what you said about, being kind to immigrants and supporting them. And, because the climate has gotten to a point now where even people who are here legally, fully legally, are in some cases getting harassed, even deported. And
right. So we're basically back. Yeah. So we're back in the lynch mob mentality of like the, post Civil War era. So we're going to have these like thugs that think they can go out into the streets and just, posse comitatus there, and start rounding up immigrants. It's just ridiculous.
And another thing too, I want to address on that subject, because I know that the right has some on the right, I should say, have this concept that, well, if you're not for rounding people up and deporting them, then obviously you're somehow pro-crime or something like that. And it's like, no, look, I'm all for rounding up criminals and getting rid of them, whether it's putting them in
like
prison
you.
or sending them back. If you know, find me criminals, and absolutely,
I can find
get
you
them out of
criminals.
here.
Go to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. There's a lot of criminals there.
There are. But you know, I don't support. But here's the thing, though. They do, and this is objectively racist, in my opinion. They paint anyone who is in the country illegally, or even under some questionable, or refugees who are absolutely here legally. We know they're here. They paint them as all being criminals, as they're all criminals. They're all evil. And it's I'm going to say it, you know, it's objectively racist, in my opinion.
I think it's blatantly racist. You know, I think, I mean, all you have to do is look at Tom Homan. I mean, if he doesn't look like the poster child of racism, he reminds me of that, like, you know, that football player, like that frustrated football player that could never make it even to the semi-pros. And like, now he's stuck as like a high school coach somewhere, you know, and he's like, trying to make men, and, you know, like, you know, he likes to teach like cultural misogyny and racism.
Yeah, he does seem like, he reminds me of Bull Connor or somebody. He's got that vibe.
God.
So
like a young Archie Bunker.
yeah. So yeah, it's very, very, very frustrating.
They really are making America great, aren't they?
But I don't know. I think the only way we can reach them is by just trying to really hammer home the economic benefits of immigrants.
Absolutely. It's all about economics. And you know, like I think I said this the last show, I'm going to say it again. I'm going to keep on saying it. Like, look, at the end of the day, we really need to just, however, this election coming up is all about numbers. I don't think, and actually I'm going to have my friend Jason come on sometime, and he talks about this at Verbatim, but the difference between going to the center and a center left, and sort of this I think illusion that the Democratic Party has about going to the center and what they're really going towards. It's an interesting topic. We'll have to explore it. But anyway, we'll go back to the original, what we were talking about.
Melanie made a great point. She said, and they are changing the rules to suddenly make people illegal. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
But Melanie, it's by selective choice. I mean, if you are an Afrikaner from South Africa, then you are welcome here.
Yep.
Yeah. So interesting.
Just a side note, though, too. I know someone who is Canadian and white, who is here legally, who told me that at least for the next few years, she has family back home in Canada. Now she's not an American citizen, but she's here on some sort of work program. I don't know how it all works.
I mean, we used to have all kinds of things that people could come here because we, you know, considered ourselves collaborative, and we wanted to like tap into like, you know, that whole global village mentality, God forbid.
Yeah. And she's not, this particular person, obviously I'm not going to say who it is, but she's not worried about being deported, but she is worried about, she's not going home right now, at least for the next few years, to visit family, because she's afraid she won't be able to get back in. So she's not worried about something happening to her here, but she's worried about not being able to come back in. So can't blame her.
Yeah. Except sometimes I worry about having to come back in if I do decide to leave, because if I decide to leave, it's because it's gotten that way. You know, I'm not worried. So, you know, I don't know. But that was a little bit of a joke. But yes, of course, I wouldn't. That's all a joke, of course, people. Don't worry. I'm not an expatriate yet. As a matter of fact, unfortunately, the MAGA heads are stuck with me. I'm going to be here until I can't be.
Brian Mackey said, history has it we stole the land from the Indians. So we are all illegal. Extreme LOL.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if we had maybe, not to sound imperialistic, but I think that maybe even if we had come over and sort of started with like almost like, some kind of bartering system or like a trade, and didn't come and take it over, but actually we're like, hey, we would like to also colonize this area. Is there something we can do? Can we give you some sort of compensation to move west and these types of things? But, I think that, I don't know. I mean, there's something with a certain portion of the of that cisgender heterosexual white male, and not all of them, because that's mad as well, but like,
Right.
but the vast majority aren't like this. But for some reason there's a few of them that I don't know if they just were like dropped in their heads as children, but they are just angry about everything, and they legislate about that with their anger, and they run their families with their anger, and they run their companies with their anger, and they treat everybody. It's all they're just angry all the time.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we're facing. It's like, I guess it's that bully mentality.
Well, some people think a lot of it is that we're experiencing is, I've heard people say this about Trump specifically, but also in a broader sense, that so much of what we're experiencing now is still backlash to Obama, to 8 years of having a black president.
I think, and actually, this is something I think my friend Jason will go into deeper, but I think actually that if you actually look at the overall public, so first off, number one, Trump did not, I know they say he he killed it. He didn't kill it. He won by 1 point something percent. We'll give him 2% and be liberal of the popular vote.
That's if you go by the Electoral College map, it looks like a landslide. But if you go by the popular vote, you're right. That's a great thing to put out. By the popular vote, he won.
That's not killing it.
He won, but barely. It was a close election by the popular vote. You're right.
And that, honestly, at the end of the day, is what matters. And hopefully we can, that's another reform, add to the list, get rid of the Electoral College. But, because I don't know who the hell these people are, but, it's almost like AI, like I don't need AI voting for me. I don't need the Electoral College. So,
yeah.
But anyway, I digressed. What was I forget what I was saying.
By the way, Melanie said if Kamala was a white man, she would have won. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case.
I don't know about that right now, because unfortunately, Melanie, a lot of the people, as a matter of fact, going back, little backtrack here, during that march in Manchester on Friday, we had two very loud people, actually three very loud people. And it goes to show you that willful ignorance amongst the MAGAs is strong. We had a woman try to drive through the march.
Really?
Screaming at us because we were crossing the street.
Oh.
We had a guy with a tomahawk tattoo yell about MAGA and then say that the tomahawk represents conservatism. Interesting. And then we had a Spanish guy yelling, "Immigrants go home." So, clearly we're dealing with a very highly intelligent group here. So we,
yeah,
because it's always good to fight for the party that is against your self-interest. That's always what I say. I mean, if I meet a group and they're like, God, I hate gays, I hate, educated people, I hate artistic people, and that's who I vote for. I mean, obviously, isn't that who all you vote for? I mean, if they hate you, you vote for them, because God knows it's going to make my life better.
By the way, Brian Mackey says that he's a 2024 election denier. He thinks the election was bought and paid for. Well, I think Elon Musk is even saying that, right? If it wasn't for Musk, Trump.
Well, he should know he paid for it,
right?
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, of course. Between him and Peter Thiel and who's that other monster that wrote? That could be a whole other story. The monsters under the bed, we can call it, and we can do a whole other thing about Thiel and all our favorite children's authors of 2025.
Yeah.
That is someone actually had a sign that said, if you want to ban some books, ban Project 2025. I was like, absolutely, my friend, absolutely.
100%. Melanie points out Elon Musk isn't even an American.
No, he's South African, which is again why it's all about trying to have like, you know, a new apartheid here, I guess, in the United States. But anyway, oh, I know what I was going to say. I got it. Oh my God. ADHD. Thank you. What I was going to say is this. I actually think if you take a true snapshot of all of us that care, plus those that maybe are not informed enough, but you talk to these people one-on-one, the vast majority of these people now, America's going center left. It's not going center right. There's a loud group of right-wing people, but it's not the majority. And so I truly believe, you know, you see this all the time. When a movement is dying, people get louder. People get more aggressive. People get angry. And again, it's these angry men. They're angry. They're trying to save their world, which PS is dying. It's extinct. I mean, because just by sheer numbers, there's more of all of us than these angry racist men.
I think there are a lot of people who don't realize. I think there are a lot of people who are MAGA who are I mean, obviously you've got the hardcore MAGA base, but I think there are also a lot of people who just don't. Again, we have to do better at explaining this stuff. Who don't realize that, for example, if you have a steady diet of conservative media, then you don't know that most of these immigrants are not criminals. You know what I mean?
A lot of, or there's and that group, that's one thing. But the part that I think is that willful ignorant group. So the people that, even some of the people that I grew up with, and no, I don't know any of my peers per se, but I certainly know my mother's peers, and some of these people, I literally think A, they didn't think Trump would be that bad. B, they thought that the checks and balances would hold because they're conservative, but they're ignorantly conservative. It's like they don't understand how much non-movement is going on, like how much stagnation right now is happening. And as we've realized, you know, non-action is just as dangerous as you know, aggressive conservative action. I mean, that's really what's in many ways what's doing the most damage right now, is that literally if I hear one more person, especially on our side, tell me the reason why they're not getting louder is because they just can't do very much, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know it. I don't know. I don't even know. It's like, I'll tell you, I'm going to let a little secret out. I've never voted for any political leader that was, I consider myself progressive, but I'm a pragmatic progressive. So I guess I'm guilty of like, let's get, you know, a left-leaning, more towards the progressive side, but still enough like palatable to the general public that almost, I don't know, maybe I'm trying to trick them. I don't know. But anyway, that I can get these, you know, that they'll let these people get in power. And then once they get in power, that they'll sit down and they'll listen to their progressive cohorts and, you know, have some aha moments instead of the opposite of what we're seeing, except for, I have to say, shout out to Newsom. Finally, someone with a lot of power and a lot of voice. And I know, surprise, surprise, he's actually got a lot of money too. And he's still standing up for us. So that's my shtick. His shtick is like low communication amongst the Democrats. My shtick is don't bash those with money because we need it. But anyway.
That is true.
But yeah, I mean, and also, I don't know, again, what winning game what they think they're going to get at the end. If let's just play devil's advocate and say that these MAGA morons get everything they want. What do they think in fascism happens to the opposing leaders? I mean, do you think that they say, thank you so much for not opposing us so much and letting us get away with what we wanted, so we are just going to ignore you? No, they're the first people they march to the camps.
I don't think most of these people think about it that deeply. I mean, you know, like we always say.
But it's true. It's true. I mean, if they won, I mean, all you have to do is read 2025. It's not for not for not trying that they wouldn't have. Look, I'm no longer really afraid of this becoming an ultra fascist state, but it's not because I trust them with their moral standard. It's because I trust their level of inefficiency and their inability to get things accomplished.
Yeah.
If they were, you know, competent people, I would be afraid.
Right. Yeah. Well, what's that expression? You know, if they had brains, they'd be dangerous.
Right. Well, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at any of the dictatorships and all that stuff that were dangerous, it's the ones that have competent people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, by the way, Miriam Banish is asking on Facebook, how does she get the show on YouTube? If you go to the IPM Nation YouTube channel, it's streaming there.
This is exciting. I love all these people listening in.
Yeah, yeah. The first one we did, you know, we were streaming live on Memorial Day, and that was a holiday, so you just never know. And then, of course,
that was a good move, I guess, on our part, right?
Well, you know, most people ultimately the largest audience is going to be the podcast audience who listen to it on demand. But it is nice to have some. It is nice to have some live people joining us. So very, very cool.
We have to get into Substack too, because
yes.
I've looked at a lot of these people in Substack, the ones that are really winning and like getting hundreds of thousands of followers. And I guess this is my slight narcissism. I think we could do it. I really do. Like, I think we have the same kind of vibe that these people have, the same kind of energy. Yeah.
Absolutely. By the way, Melanie said, I'm afraid of the people standing behind Trump. If he dies, we're blanked. That's true. You know, it's funny because...
You know, so which ones, Melanie? I'm interested what is she talking about? So you're right. If you're talking about the authors of 2025, I would say they're absolutely more dangerous than Trump. Peter Thiel, absolutely more dangerous. And they also have the private resources to do so. But if we're talking about the MAGA morons, I mean, they're lemmings. They're going to fall off cliffs. When Trump dies, they'll just follow him. They'll probably all jump in the grave with him.
They won't be able to go on without him.
Yeah, I mean, these people are on Trump life support. You know, they can't handle it.
Well, unfortunately, I think Don Jr. will run for president and they'll just follow him. But the thing is,
he's not going to win.
The thing is, too, though, people who sometimes people have these dark fantasies about something happening to Trump and whatnot. But it's like, so what? So then we get President Vance? Like, is that better? And by the way, maybe it is. I mean, he's younger. He's capable of thinking in a more centrist way because he did it one time before he decided to go full Trump. I mean, we are talking about the guy who once called Trump Hitler. You know, before he decided to join the cult.
Except that, isn't he like, I think that with Vance, the problem would kind of swing a little bit and it would be, I don't know if it would be as much about nationalism as it would, isolationism as it would be about, like, I think his social attacks would get worse.
Maybe. I don't know.
Because he's very religious, isn't he?
Is he? It's kind of a mystery to me, but I don't know what to believe about the guy to begin with. I mean, he's
an idiot. I don't like him either.
He's changed his names. I actually don't think he's an idiot, and I think that's why he worries me. I think he's smarter than you might think he is.
I don't know. I think he's a Peter. I have to argue with that. I think that anyone who, like, I don't understand why they don't stay with their convictions then. Like, I just don't understand that. To me, I guess it's that, so he's still willfully ignorant. I mean, I don't know if he's capable of, plus he's got a lot of egos he's got to manage. Like, I don't know, you know, you're dealing with a lot of like classically macho men in Trump's, you know, hemisphere. Mm-hmm. I don't see the Tom Homans of the world or the Pete Hegseths of the world, bowing to Vance. I could see them almost making a power play and trying to steal the presidency more than I could see. I mean, Hegseth will fall out drunk and won't make it there. But, you know, I don't know. Actually, I'm more afraid of, like I said, I'm more afraid of Peter Thiel and those people. Yeah. I think that if Trump dies, they could actually try to go for like a techno bro oligarch.
During the debate with Tim Walz, I felt like I was seeing something in Vance where I sensed that there was a part of him that wanted to be more centrist, but he knew he had to toe the Trump line. But
interesting.
But it felt like there were a couple of moments during that debate where he was, without meaning to, starting to veer into that other lane, which might be who he really is, just based on what people have said about who he used to be.
So he's a protege of Thiel. He's a protege of Thiel. And true. If you know what Thiel believes in, Thiel believes basically in a like an oligarchy, which is which is focused on like tech intelligent people running the country and running it like a corporation.
Yeah.
So, you know, and he's absolutely against empathy and things of that nature. So, yeah, they're more maniacal.
Melanie had made a comment. She thinks the attack on women will get worse under President Vance if that comes to pass.
More Handmaid's Tale. That's what I'm saying. I think it's more social. I think the attack on gays would get worse too.
Yeah. But it's hard to know. I kind of have a suspicion it's possible that Vance just doesn't really believe anything, just has no core beliefs.
But if Thiel is managing and those people are managing,
true. That's who's Vance, really.
Then that could be very scary.
You're right, because ultimately that's who's really who controls the money is who controls the power. That's who's
especially
really
with the way they have it set up right now.
You're right. No, that's a great point. I think you're right. I think you're right. I'm trying to be a tiny bit optimistic because I'm
optimistic. I just think that
well, yeah. I mean in terms of Vance specifically, because I do think it's going to happen.
I think the best you do. I think the best scenario would be like a White House down scenario. Frankly, when
I say I think it's going to happen, I don't think I'm not saying I think Vance is going to run in 28 and win. I just mean I don't think Trump is going to finish his term.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I guess I just don't know. Like, is Vance kind of like the court jester and they're sort of like all using him, but behind their back, do they laugh at him? Or, you know, and also those guys are elitists. So I don't necessarily know, like, even if you're a redneck, but you can read, all you have to do is start reading what they want. They're not going to do any. They're not even pretending to make a lot of that the low end Trumpers their priority. Like they're not in, like it's more like they want to establish this like almost more fascist. Like you follow us or you die.
Yeah,
I mean that's really what they want to do. Like they're not. The only plus side, although, is that Thiel has expressed he's not as like a moral hound as like the other guy that wrote 2025. So what I mean by that is that like if anything that's considered immoral, he's not as religious. So anything that's considered immoral or anything, he's probably going to let go. Just God forbid we have another AIDS crisis or something like that, because he'll just let you die. But like, but you can do what you want until the next crisis.
Right.
But if it ends up, you know, misbehaving, ends up into another bad health situation, then you know, or if we get too hedonistic and it causes a bad health situation, then you know, that's just he's a hardcore social Darwinist. Hardcore.
Or even if we have a pandemic, I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like he is okay because in the Thiel world, you can be replaced by robots.
Right.
So like less people doesn't bother him.
Right. Yeah. Good point.
And he's a gay man, theoretically. So he's not interested in, you know, any of that. I mean, I kind of see like sci-fi movies where they're having children in pods, you know, like I don't think he's probably not even really, you know, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Well, time will tell. Let's. What else do we have? We talked a lot about immigration.
Melanie said, "Ha, rednecks can't read."
Oh yes,
that is true. Very true.
That's not true. They just read the wrong things.
They can't interpret, Melanie. They can't interpret. They don't know what they're reading. I think they can read, but you know.
Yeah.
It's not saying a lot.
Yeah. What else have we got? Was there anything else that we wanted to touch on?
I just wanted to like really you know, we haven't really touched on this that much. I mean, I think the whole like listen, what does everyone think about the policing of the United States, you know, specifically LA and stuff like that with military, you know, the Trump regime and then this whole parade and all of this, like, you know, what do we think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I was saying to somebody the other day, it's not the America I grew up in. I never would have thought that we would see something quite like this.
Quite an understatement, my friend.
And and don't get me wrong. And again, this is another one of those things where I just want to be clear, because people will hear this and
right,
say,
right, for sure.
So you think violence is fine and all that?
Also, I'm not anti-military. I want that out there too. Not anti-military, and I'm not anti-police. I don't believe in defunding the police. Right. I believe in I just want my police force to be, articulate and God forbid woke, and like all of these things, or I just mean, I know woke's a 4-letter word, but I mean, aware, culturally aware, and aware of and be civil servants like they're supposed to be, like actually care about the people they're policing.
Right. And we don't want police and military to be misused, and using police and military. Again, it's one thing if there's, I never condone violence or vandalism or anything like that. But when and again, this is what they do, right? They paint anyone who objects, any protesters, they're all violent, they're all criminals, and they all need to be intimidated. So that's what I have a problem with, using police and military to intimidate people so that they are afraid to exercise their First Amendment rights.
I mean, we're finding that it's actually having the reverse effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's emboldening people. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I think it was a senator today on, I'm not good with all the names, but I think it was the Democratic senator from Connecticut. He was on Meet the Press, I believe, or maybe
was it Chris Murphy?
I think so.
Okay.
And Chris said that, look, one of the things that happens when you bring in a paramilitary looking force or military force or whatever is that it actually incites people, because, when people get afraid, it's fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that since most of us don't have the choice or aren't choosing to flight, like we're not giving up America, then the only other option is to fight.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, and plus they've pretty much said to us that, like, if, we see full passiveness to the point where, like, you're pretty much just like really bending over and taking it, we see that as a weakness, and we're going to exploit it. So that's why I have this hat on right now saying, these colors don't run. I don't support violence, but I'll tell you, I don't have an issue with a group like Proud Boys, or some sort of like even a misdirected member of the military or the police force making a second thought that perhaps I may be armed, or perhaps I may have some sort of, there may be some sort of potential backlash I don't want them to think they can bully me.
Right.
Now, That's not to say I'm going to walk around with an M60 in the streets. I'm not, but I don't want to look welcoming and inviting either.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But Trump has been very, by the way, Melanie said she loves that I've returned to doing a political show. Thank you, Melanie. I appreciate it. And I appreciate Todd for, Todd.
I'm the one that coerced him.
This was your idea. Yes, absolutely. And I'm really glad you did. But
this is exciting. This is a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying this. And
good. Yeah, absolutely.
Tell all your friends, Melanie.
Yes, please. Yeah, we got to build an audience. But yeah, Trump has been pretty blunt too about if you oppose us. I mean, he's used some pretty blunt language. He's kind of saying the quiet part out loud. If you oppose us, we're gonna round you up or arrest you, or
which is why we can't. I think again, I said I will not be a censored show, so I guess I'll say this. That's why we cannot bow down to them. I mean, and I do think that I don't know. I don't have an answer, but I don't think that I'm all for peaceful protest.
Mm-hmm.
But in the same token, I'm not against social dissidence to some extent if it's pragmatic and it's done in a way that has a purpose and it has an end goal. I honestly am not going to lose sleep over the vandalization of a ice station or anything like that. That's my own personal feelings. I'm not saying go out there and do it, but
no.
But I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying I'm going to celebrate it, but I'm not saying that I'm also not going to look at the big picture and say, look, I see why this is happening. And I'm not going to do what the national news is. And like almost, I don't know if they know they're doing this or they know they're not doing this, but I think to some extent, it's like, just that one person that's, one bad actor that's making it all look like this. Mm-hmm. And P.S. a lot of those guys are not protesters. They are actual criminals using this sort of, volatile situation mm-hmm. to loot and rob and steal. It's what it's about. It's not about, whether it was the BLM movement or any of this stuff. People like to ride on the tails of these groups, kind of, hide inside.
Sure.
And then like once things get a little bit rowdy, they're like, okay, cool. Now let's start smashing windows, mm-hmm. But they don't, all you got to do is look. They don't have the protest t-shirts on. They're not carrying signs. They're
right. Right. You can figure it out who the bad apples are.
Come on, Yeah,
100%. 100%.
These are the same kids that like are riding around on dirt bikes and harassing people, on their way to work. These are not, and this is to both the left and the right. Like, let's not bring these people into the fold. These are not our supporters. They're not our supporters either. So.
Yeah, exactly. What was the other thing? Oh, and the military parade, of course, was yesterday too.
They said a lot of soldiers were not happy about it. Like they really felt like it was like they were being used, which frankly they were.
Yeah, hard to guess though how many, because people in the military
can't say anything. Can you?
Well, they can't say anything, but also people in the military tend to be more conservative. So I'm sure probably the majority of them are MAGA, but I
don't know,
or MAGA adjacent in terms of their ideologies. But yeah, some of them were probably like, yeah, this is, why are we doing this? And not only, is it something you'd expect to see out of North Korea or Russia?
Except that MAGA, I'm going to play devil's advocate on that, because MAGA supported an insurrection.
Right.
And if you are pro-military, most people that went and fought for this country for democracy are, especially once you go up the ranks, if you're in it long enough, you're going to realize that like that was nothing more than an insurrection. There was nothing patriotic about January 6th.
Right.
So they're not going to support. I think they're probably as nationalistic in some respects, perhaps.
Yeah.
They're going to, obviously, there are some that are going to lean more towards war. Some of them, yes.
Yeah.
And I also think it would vary if we were to pool. I think it would vary from both the position they're in mm-hmm. and, what rank they are as far as that goes. And also what branch. I think different branches, you get a different vibe.
Yeah, I also think too, to your point, if the higher you go in rank, the more likely you're going to have someone who's more educated, and more educated people tend to be more liberal. Not always, but
no. I think what it's going to do is it's going to go like, so you're going to go to like maybe a colonel mm-hmm. or like a colonel major, and then maybe above. But actually, even some generals now are like speaking out against it. So, but I think once you get to the level of a general, then you're going to have both. Because that's obviously, if there's ultra conservatives in the military, they've got ultra conservative leaders.
Yeah.
But
But some of the leadership in the military, I think, and we've seen examples of this. Some of the people who disagreed with Trump,
they don't,
for example, because
they're not happy.
Right, exactly, and they don't like seeing. They take it seriously. They take.
I know a lot of vets that are not happy, so I guess that's why I say.
Yeah.
I think that I think maybe the misnomer is that because a lot of them are coming from like the South and the Bible Belt and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, I would imagine that what ends up happening is, even if you were like, a good old boy from like Mississippi or something, like if you're fighting along, if you go to these conflict areas and you're fighting alongside Black and brown people, and they save your life a few times, you ultimately probably is like a slow process, but you go from like, hey, I like this Black dude, he's my bro, to like, and maybe you still harbor some of that racism, but not to the level of like, you know, apartheid like or anything. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm being naive. I don't know. But most of the people, most of his mob are just a bunch of wahoos. They're not doing anything.
By the way, Melanie brings up a great point. Hardly anyone showed up for the parade. The crowds were not great.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
And she points out hardly any GOP lawmakers attended, including the cabinet. Oh, outside of his cabinet, rather. Yeah, his cabinet, I guess, had to be there. Such a waste
that's
of
the
money.
mental midget group. Yeah, they're all going to be there. I mean, you know. Oh, yeah. Amongst his cabinet, there is no question. Those people are all nuts. Like, I mean, Christine Nome, she's a Satan spawn. She's a harpy. I mean, you know, I don't know what's, you know, she's the Barbie harpy. They're going to have a whole collection. I think we have to come up with a whole collection of action figures when this is all done. Like
Stephen Miller.
Yeah, that's the other guy I was thinking of. He's a nutbag.
Genuinely evil.
Tom Homan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Evil.
Just a hateful guy. Tom Homan.
Hegseth, evil and drunk. Who's the other one? The one that doesn't know what party she belongs to. She's just kind of a dimwit.
I don't know who you mean.
I can't think of her name right now.
Hmm.
She came in as a progressive, and she said she was a Bernie supporter, and now she's
Tulsi. Tulsi
Gabbard?
Yeah,
her. Yeah. She just had too much lead in her milk or something. I don't know. She's got problems.
No, I think, you know what though? I don't think some of these people, I don't think it's that they're yahoos. I think they're just it's power. They just want power.
Yeah. But I'm talking about the you know, the fools that scream at the MAGA things and the ones that, you know, go on about, like that idiot that has bought that church. I think it's in Virginia, Southern Virginia, and it's like a Trump house now, and he's got like all this paraphernalia and like, you know, or the ones that were singing the songs about Elon Musk and how the next conquest is going to be Mars. Like these fools. That's what I'm
totally not a cult though. Not a cult. No.
That's what I'm saying. It's a cult. So like those...
Of course it is. Yeah, it is. And they don't realize it, but you don't realize you're in a cult when you're in a cult.
Cult people don't usually realize that.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Absolutely not.
Well, Brian, we've been here for just over an hour. Should we wrap this one up? Put number 3 in the books?
You called me Brian, or you?
Did I just call you Brian? Oh, because I was reading Brian Mackey's
It's okay, Brian. We appreciate it.
Brian wrote Tulsi flips colors every morning. I'm sorry. I was looking at Brian's comment, so I was seeing his name. But yeah, you are not Brian. You are Todd.
I am Todd.
You are Todd. But I was just trying to get Brian's input at what he thinks.
No, that's good. That's good. Hey, look.
No, I'm kidding.
It's not all about me.
No, but Brian, when I met Brian, he was living out west, but he's living, I believe he's in New Jersey now, Brian Mackey.
Okay.
So he's
nice.
a fellow Northeasterner now.
Nice.
But yeah, should we wrap this one up and then we'll do a we you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be next week till the next one. I mean, we can always do one during the week too if there's anything that you want to, you know, go live with during the week. I mean, I'm up for it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it might be just for pragmatic reasons. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
During the week might make more sense. I know that, like I said, I'll be in Providence running the Pride, you know, the Pride booth or whatever you want to call it, the table for Rhode Island in Providence.
Okay.
For the Human Rights Campaign.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, so I'll be doing that, and that's a great organization to get involved with. Also, just so everyone knows, with the Human Rights Campaign, I know that a lot of, and I'll speak, you know, candidly and from my own experience. I know, certainly in the past anyway, some of the LGBTQ groups are a little bit isolationist, or can appear to be. But I will tell you that with my group in particular, one of the reasons why I joined it is we do a wonderful job of bringing the allies in and championing, and we celebrate the allies.
Yeah.
And there's even allies on our board. So it's not just, you know, it's not just that token straight, you know.
Sure. Oh, that's cool.
Like I work with a lot of like straight people, or, you know, and honestly, we don't even really ask, to be quite frank. Like it's not even a thing.
Yeah.
It's like, do you support LGBTQ rights? Do you support reproductive rights? Do you support gender rights? And are you anti-MAGA? Those are pretty much the 3 categories, you know.
Sure.
Other than that, I don't care what you do in your bedroom or don't do in your bedroom.
Well, if people want to learn more about anything that you're doing, where should they go online?
So you can go to the hub at HRC, the community hub. I'm sorry. So www.hrc.org. And then you can also do a /community hub, and that will take you to, actually, no, you know what? You should go to HRC New England, because that's really, well, I don't know who my audience is. So if you're HRC National, great, based out of Washington, D.C., but HRC New England is where you go to get specific, the 6 states. So, you know, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Maine, Connecticut. What am I missing? Vermont.
Oh, can't forget Vermont. JFED
no,
is in
they're
the
here
chat
for
room.
us. Absolutely.
JFED is also in the great state of Vermont.
Yes.
Along with Melanie. Yes.
I love Vermont.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, very good. Very good. And of course, if you want to know more about what I'm up to, you can go to my website, mattconnerton.com. And I guess we'll call it there. Todd Ayer, thank you so much.
Absolutely. As a pleasure, as always.
And my name is Matt Connerton, and that's it. Episode 3 of Hanging Left. I'll talk to you all
right.
later.
See you next week, my friends. Take care.
Bye, everybody.